I have no idea who that's supposed to be on the cover. No older couple gets snuggly in this book. Aunt Eloise finds a gray-haired boyfriend in the next book, but I'm pretty sure that's not Aunt Eloise.
Argo Funk Book Review, Argo Funk Book Review.
Bess has a boyfriend named Tommy because it's the summer of love. And Tommy has a mystery because it's Nancy Drew. Christopher Scott, the reclusive painter, lived with his nephew and manager, Nicholas Scott. Nicholas died in a boating accident recently, and Christopher hasn't been seen since. The art gallery wants someone to find Christopher before his big art show. Sasha Petrov is still hanging around Nancy most of the time, saying flirty things. The book says that Nancy is glad he's honored her request to stay away from her, but he's clearly tired of being just friends. Just friends? What? Sasha kissed Nancy at the end of the last book. That's not staying away from her. Continuity! Nancy meets Cynthia Gray, the art gallery's owner. The manager, Bob Tercero, handles all the details of the business. At first, Bob says Nicholas was a good friend. Then he changes his mind and decides Nicholas was a horrible person who everyone hates. Bob also says a painting named Vanity has gone missing. It's a portrait of a redhead combing her hair. Nancy suspects the model might be a good person to talk to, because her mystery radar said so. Nancy starts to fall for Sasha when they go dancing. He's so handsome! And she thinks he's going to kiss her. Ooh! Again, continuity. They've already kissed. Ugh. The evening is spoiled when someone leaves Nancy an anonymous note saying Mr. Scott was murdered. Oh no, Mr. Scott murdered? Which one? The dead one, or the one that no one has seen in over half a year? Maybe he's dead too. Nancy searches the Scott house and meets Nicholas's girlfriend, Megan Archer. She says Vanity doesn't exist. She explains Nicholas died in a boating accident late at night. The boat is still underwater, so they go scuba diving to see it. Tommy warns them to look out for great white sharks, which would normally mean Nancy's gonna have to punch out a shark before the book ends. But I guess they already had Nancy fights a great white shark in a previous book, so they decided to go with Nancy holds her breath super long as the ending. Nancy shows off her amazing breath-holding skills when her regulator breaks by accident, and she has to swim 45 feet to the surface. Nancy tells Bob that Vanity doesn't exist, but he has a photo in the catalog which proves it does. He remembers the model was Nicholas's girlfriend. Nancy and her friends waste time calling every single modeling agency in New York, asking about redheaded portrait sitters. It doesn't work, total waste of time. Eventually, Nancy visits a local gossip columnist and says, "Hey, do you know who Nicholas's girlfriend was?" And the columnist is like, "Yeah, sure, it's Diana Spitzer." I wish Nancy had done that to begin with. Sasha gives Nancy a dance lesson. She says she's never taken ballet. Wrong, but she has taken tap and karate. As usual, she'll forget her karate skills during the culprit confrontation. Continuity. The dancing scene leads to another lovey-dovey moment, which is interrupted when the culprit sends an anonymous message. So that's twice in a row that romance was interrupted by threatening notes. Clearly, the culprit doesn't want Nancy getting close to Sasha. I bet the culprit is Ned. Nancy breaks into Megan's house. She finds Vanity inside Megan's closet. Megan comes home unexpectedly. Normally, Nancy would hide or something, but she decides to confront Megan. "Yeah, I just broke into your house. Guess what I found, Miss Liar?" Megan defends herself by saying the painting was done by Nicholas, not Christopher. Bess has a big day when she kisses Tommy for the first time, and a painter asks her to be his model. The painter studied under Christopher, and he's able to confirm that Christopher's recent paintings are half fakes. That is, half of them were painted by Christopher, half by someone else. The gallery has its art show. Surprisingly, nobody points out Nancy failed her commission to find Christopher before the show started. Nancy's annoyed when other girls flirt with Sasha, Nancy meets the victim from the next book, and Diana makes a brief appearance. Nancy checks the art gallery's finance records. She learns Bob is selling paintings to himself on the cheap, and he's been underpaying Christopher for the last 6 months. Bob twists Nancy's arm behind her back and smashes her on the head with a statue. So Nancy and her friends rush to Diana. Diana confesses everything. Nicholas killed Christopher while she was modeling. The murder weapon was the hat pin she was holding, and she's been worried that she'll be framed for the murder. Ever since Christopher died, Nicholas has been finishing up his half-done paintings and selling them as Christopher's. They try to get to Vanity before Bob does, but he has a gun. He shoots the ceiling and tries to escape. On a boat dock, Sasha uses his dance moves to roll and handspring, knocking the gun away. Nancy tackles Bob off the dock and holds him underwater as long as possible, making sure his air runs out. Is she trying to kill him? Because it sure seems like it. Well, it's a good thing Nancy can hold her breath longer than anyone else alive. So Bob's air runs out, she easily resurfaces and slaps his unconscious body on the dock. Bob is arrested, Vanity is returned to the art gallery, and we end with romance. Sasha moves to kiss her, and she wants it to happen. They share passionate kisses, and he says he loves her. The end. Post-book follow-up. I will say the romance is better in this book than the previous one. Sasha isn't a pushy jerk, and Nancy likes him better. Last book, the Nancy likes Sasha scenes were mostly her staring at him or laughing at his flirtations. This book, she legitimately likes him, and they treat each other well. Summarizing this book was a little tricky because each chapter tended to hit on 2 to 4 different storylines. That gave the book a fast pace, but it felt like some scenes, especially the gallery scenes, were split up unnecessarily. The mystery was not strong in this book. Nancy totally ignores the find the missing person mystery. Instead, she focuses on Nicholas's accidental death as a mystery. And yeah, the death was 100% an accident. There wasn't a mystery. There was no reason for her to focus on it. Luckily, the romance and what's going on with Nancy's friends is interesting enough to buoy the plot. Otherwise, I'd complain a lot more about Nancy ignoring the mystery in the mystery book. The front of the book says the suspects are Bob, Megan, and the model. The model doesn't show up until 89% of the way through, and Megan's pretty much done 28% of the way through the book. I'd say that's a bit of a failure in terms of suspect distribution, although it's understandable because the focus of the mystery isn't fixed. Overall, I like this better than the previous book, so I'm rating it 1 point higher. I give Nancy Drew Files 49, Portrait in Crime, a 7 out of 10.